Employee discipline. How do you do that effectively? Welcome to the Culture Course Show, where we help you attract the top talent and build a company culture that will thrive. My name is Grant Botma, and I'm the owner of a Inc. 5000 fastest growing company in America. Disciplining employees sometimes feels weird. It can feel awkward. And a lot of times when we're doing it, we either go too hard or we don't do it at all because we have fear. Well, having a very intentional plan of how to discipline employees can help make sure that that discipline is done well. I think the most important thing as it pertains to disciplining your employees is knowing that there's a difference between a correction and a reprimand. A correction is something that you can do on the fly. This is something that you can say, oh, hey, you're doing this in our system. Make sure you do it this way. Okay, thanks. Or a correction can be, hey, I heard you say that on the phone. That was pretty good, but why don't you adjust it doing it this way? That's great. Thank you so much. Those are corrections. Whereas a reprimand is, hey, when you did this, it cost us a ton of money. What's going on here? How'd that mistake happen? A reprimand is, hey, look, you just did action A, B, and C, and it turned into X, Y, and Z. That was extremely selfish of you, and now it's hurting us. What's going on? Or a reprimand can also be something like, hey, our company policy is you got to make sure you're showing up on time, or you got to make sure you're doing this, and you haven't been doing it. You've been ignoring it. What's going on? You see the difference between a correction and a reprimand? This week's episode is brought to you by my new book, The Problem Isn't Their Paycheck: How to Attract Top Talent and Build a Thriving Company Culture. This book is available on Amazon. It is available in a paperback version, a hardcover, an ebook, and on Audible. Check it out on Amazon. You can search The Problem Isn't Their Paycheck. It'll show up there. Or you can go to culturecourse.com/book, culturecourse.com/book, and that will give you more information about this book, how it can be purchased. Employee discipline, again, doing it right means that you have to know the difference between a reprimand and a correction. And the key here is also knowing that you have to reprimand in different situations and correct in different situations. A correction is totally fine to do in front of others. You can correct on the spot, right? And corrections on the spot should happen. If you listen to this podcast before, or if you've been a part of reading my book, or you've listened to me for more than one or two episodes, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of affirmations. Positive affirmations and negative affirmations. A negative affirmation has been like, hey, you're doing this wrong. Let's correct it and move in this way, right? That is a correction. Looking for opportunities to do that on the spot is extremely wise, because we as individuals, we as humans, we want to know how we're doing. We want to know if we're doing it right. And a negative affirmation or a correction, it helps us, right? If you're going in one direction, you know what? Let's go a little bit over here. Now you're on the right path again. And we want that. We want that guidance to know if the hard work that we're putting into something, if we're doing it right. Corrections can not only happen on the spot, but again, they can happen publicly and they can happen in front of other people. You do them with a different tone and a different voice than you do with a reprimand. Now, a reprimand must be done in private. You've got to have a one-on-one conversation, or maybe a one-on-two with another person there, depending on the type of reprimand. These ones you do not want to do publicly, because a reprimand publicly will do this. It'll create shame. And if you want to halt not only the production of a person, but also make the rest of the people around lose faith in you and act in fear, go ahead and insert shame into your culture. Shame in culture is extremely dangerous. That's why you never want to reprimand in a public setting. It'll create shame for that person you reprimand, and worse, it creates shame for everyone else. It's extremely awkward. Don't do it. So your call to action this week is going to help you with this reprimand and how you can reprimand next time. This week, I want you to think about the next physical and mental space where your next reprimand is going to happen. Here's what I mean by that. Physical space. Is there a conference room, a meeting room, your office, where you can close the door, have a conversation where, you know what, this is where reprimands are going to happen. The next time I reprimand somebody, I'm not going to do it on the spot. I'm not going to do it with a reaction. I'm going to do it with intentionality, make sure I go to this place to make sure that the reprimand isn't public. I'm going to make the reprimand private in this physical location. But you note, in my call to action, I also said mental space. You have to be ready mentally when you reprimand. You have to use a different tone in your voice. You have to make sure that the words you're saying are extremely intentional. You have to communicate with clarity. You have to make sure that the words that you're saying, the reprimand gets repeated so that it gets absorbed correctly by the person that you are reprimanding. You cannot let the emotions get the best of you. You have to say this with intentionality. So, what are you going to do mentally to make sure you're ready for that reprimand the next time? Write down the place, the physical place that the next reprimand will happen, but also write down the thing that you're going to do to prepare mentally. It could be that you're going to pray. It could be that you're going to write out your words in word format in a journal. It could be that you're going to listen to some music. What are you going to do to prepare mentally for this reprimand? That's your call to action this week. Write down the physical space of where the reprimand's going to happen. Write down the mental space, the thing that you're going to do mentally to prepare for the reprimand. And this will help ensure that you aren't creating a culture of shame. That when you do employee discipline, you're able to do it right. And that you can move and correct, you can move the direction of the company in the place that you want it to be. You guys, employee discipline's a big deal. It can make or break a company on so many levels. Be intentional about your actions. Write it down how you're going to do it. Know the difference between a correction and a reprimand. And have a plan, very intentional plan, for your next reprimand. Have a great week.